Hey everyone, the Classic Battles has just been pretty much like released. I actually haven't looked at any of the spoilers or leaks up until now, just because I want to do like a real-time reaction. The full list, it's probably best to look at it now. The only card I am aware of is, I do know about Wrecking Ball over here, the 3 cost for 6 attack. When you attack with Wrecking Ball, draw and discard a card at random. If a card with 6 or more is discarded this way, Intimidate. The non-block is really hard for a 3 cost 6 attack that on its best case use is going to intimidate 2 cards. I just don't really see where this fits in. Everything is opportunity cost, especially in card games, right? Because you have to find an opportunity cost of like, if I'm running Wrecking Ball, it means I'm now no longer running something in my 80 card list or my 40 card list for Blitz. So I mean, like Pack Hunt just feels better, like for Pack Hunt, it's more about the damage output, right? Because you assume your opponent's probably not going to block, right? Or, if they do, I mean, the thing is like Wrecking Ball is just going to give your opponent the ability to 6 block it, right? Unless you intimidate something else before. Obviously this card is good with like Barraging Beatdown or something. This won't trigger like Massacre if you discard Massacre, so don't like consider that when you're evaluating this card. Doesn't have Go Again or anything. I feel like if it had Go Again, like if this was just like a little bit more of like, this was just an additional copy of like Wild Ride, I would feel differently. But like the last thing Rhinar needs is like more Intimidate triggers. It's like not the problem with Rhinar right now. It's just like the problem that of like no on hits, like no meaningful on hits. The Intimidate is only, disruptive in the decks that are trying to block actively, which is like in Blitz and in CC is pretty much like only Oldhim and like kind of nobody else. So there's just an issue there of like, I don't care that this card intimidates more, like, because my opponent's not blocking, right? Like if I'm playing against Starvo, playing against Chain, I'm playing against like Briar, they're not blocking this card. It's like, okay, cool, we got another intimidate trigger. So that's my initial thought on Wrecking Ball. But let's jump back into when Bone Vizier is destroyed, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's power 6 or more, put it on top. What? It couldn't draw the card, like is that too much? Is that too much for it to have a draw card? Okay, I understand what this card's trying to do, right? It's trying to make it so that like if you have like a draw 6 or if you have like a draw discard at random effect, you can sort of plan it ahead, like you can plan ahead for it. Because that's always like part of the problem. Like even now, I still brick all the time. I've had some pretty meaningful bricks too that have like cost me pretty much like games. Like you just lose tempo or you take so much damage for a Blood Rush Bellow turn, and you play like Wild Ride or something as your first like Blood Rush Bellow attack, and then you like draw like a non-attack into like a hand of like 3 and other 6 powers, and then somehow that's the one you lose, and then you took like 15 damage to set up this like 20 plus damage hand that only does like 8 damage to your opponent. So like I understand that, but what else is this card doing? This card does not replace anything. Even Skullhorn probably feels better than this. I just don't understand why I couldn't draw. You couldn't even put like a banish effect on it. Like if it was like when like the helm is destroyed, banish the top card of your deck if it's a power 6 or more, or like banish the top card of your deck, lose 1 life, because that way it sort of like negates like the 1 armor, and then you have like a pretty interesting equipment there where like maybe you use it on like Snatch or something, right? You block with a 3 block and the 1, so you're not only denying your opponent, you're denying the opponent the on hit, but then like for instance, like if you banish 1 and lose 1, then it's like it didn't actually provide you any life, but then it provides you with denying your opponent an on hit, and then it can like possibly give you card advantage if it was like banish 1, lose 1. If it was just a Beast Within trigger, I think that'd be super cool, because Beast Within is just a really interesting card. Yeah, okay. We're gonna move on, but so far I just feel like that was like a really interesting design space that just kind of got missed. I think that this card doesn't really provide a whole lot for the brute pool. I understand this is supposed to be like geared towards newer players, but at the same time I feel like that concept would be easy to understand. You also then get to interact with the banish zone, which if you're gonna have like an introductory product, if you just have like one card in a very easy telegraph manner interact with the banish zone, or even tell you that a banish zone exists, I think that's pretty interesting, right? Because like Beast Within is a banish trigger. Sorry, okay, maybe I do want to talk about this card more, just because it's like it's a helm piece. Like that's so big. Like you're fighting with Skullhorn and you're fighting with Skullcap, right? Like that's a very crucial equipment. You're not fighting with like the arm piece. You're not fighting with the chest piece. You're fighting with like something where Skullcap exists, you know? So it has to be like really, really interesting. And I just have some weird feelings about this, you know? It's like, have players interact with the banish zone. Beast Within tells you a banish zone exists, so you understand it's like fundamentally different than the graveyard. But also Beast Within doesn't keep a card in banish zone, I guess, unless if you miss, right? But it's very deterministic, and if you made this like only a one-time trigger, you just banish the top card, and I think that's like an interesting way to get players to understand that the banish zone exists and that it's independent from the graveyard. Well, also having a card I would probably run, like if this was like Beast Within one, like you get to flip the top card and maybe it goes in your hand or not, like I would actually probably play that in a lot of variants, because a lot of times like you're just digging for something. You're just digging to get like one extra card in your hand, or yeah, I think that would be super, super cool. You could like block down maybe one card or two cards and hope that you're gonna like banish the 6 power to like play and discard the other one. Like that'd be so good, and it's a one-time effect. It would be neutral on health, so to speak, because all right, so we got beast mode. If you've intimidated this turn, beast mode gets +2. You would just play massacre. I can't think about anything where this would slot in, because the thing is that the brute red slots are very, very tight. You want to run a lot of yellows if you're gonna play, just so you can slot into club and CC. In the blitz version, you still need yellows to pitch, right? Because a yellow pitch equals 1 claw on a Blood Rush Bellow turn, or like a swing big. So the yellows are where things get interesting. The reds are pretty much like super, super tight, right? You have like Wild Ride, Swing Big, Massacre, Alpha Rampage, and like barraging beatdowns. Outside of that, like it's very, very difficult to find room for red cards, right? Because the red cards are the ones you want to play. You're going to need resources to do that. This being on a 3 cost is already awkward, right? Because if you have such a high yellow concentration, then all of a sudden this requires like a yellow and a tunic to play, or like 2 yellows if you're probably in blitz, right? Because you're probably not going to break like Barkbone Strapping or Deep Blue, or you could Deep Blue a yellow and then play this. I do like that it blocks 3 and it's a 6 attack. When you defend with Pack Call, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's power 6 or more, put it on top of your deck, otherwise put it on the bottom. Huh. I like this one. This is cool, right? Because right now you're running like Riled Up, and you're running like a Yellow Smash Instinct or something. Like cards that really are, oh, you're running Yellow Barraging Bighorn. I've never played that card before in my life. It's always there to block or to discard, and now you actually get a benefit from this. Like this would be super, super cool, right? You block with like this card, and then because I mean, like even on a Blood Rush Bellow turn, like you normally don't have to keep 4 cards, right? Especially the Blood Rush Bellow is like an arsenal too. Like you don't really need to keep 4. It's sort of like overkill. You're probably gonna get left over with extra resources. You're not rolling Scab Skins, right? You're on like a Claw, Blood Rush Bellow style deck, like you have the ability to block with 1 card, right? So if you block with this, then you can sort of like understand your turn a little bit better, especially if you're gonna play like a draw and discard effect, like Pulping or Wild Ride. Just because like it's so difficult sometimes to manage that, right? Because you'll have these hands that are super tight, you know? Because that's the thing about Rhinar is you like sculpt your hand around variants so that the variants no longer exist. But then you play a card like Wild Ride or like Pulping or something, and the amount of times you use Brick, you just draw and you draw 1 non-attack into like a 3 or 4 card hand. I've had this happen, and somehow, some way, when your opponent rolls that die to figure out which card you're discarding at random, that's somehow the card you hit, and you just kind of lose everything. It all falls apart. So I actually like this. I think that's a really interesting effect, especially because it is interesting how it's not a May, you know? It would be nice if it was a May ability, right? If you may put it on the bottom. I guess that does help enforce rules for newer players, so there's not as many decision trees. But you know, because like what happens if you see Blood Rush Bellow? You know, you have a Blood Rush Bellow in your hand. It'd be so sick to know you're about to do a double Blood Rush Bellow turn, and then that might influence, you know, how you block out for the rest of your turn. Or maybe you haven't seen a Blood Rush Bellow yet. You're like, oh, it's in the next hand. I can just block out for 9 more because like I know the hand after this is the one I really want to take damage to set up. You know, so the May ability would be nice, but I like that card. Okay, Clearing Bellow, Intimidate, go. Oh, interesting. It's a blue block 3. It's about all I can say. Don't know what you would replace. High Roller is the same card. Although High Roller has a very niche ability to be better than this, although I've never turned on the other portion of the text for High Roller. I guess if you want to up your blue count, still have cards that are meaningful. I mean, this isn't terrible. The meta with Kano and Prism, the 0 cost Intimidates are actually pretty strong because it sometimes can force your opponent to like play an aura or to activate Kano in response, right? If their hand is going to get disrupted and they can't do that, and they were planning on doing that. So yeah, there's probably room for it if you're trying to make cuts. All right, we got Blossom of Spring. This was the promo that I saw. I really like the full art promo. I think the promos looks really, really nice for the like the armory kits. Now the actual card, I like this for Blitz. I like this in an introductory product. I don't know when I would play this, you know? Like for Blitz, this is a non-attack action that's going to give you 1 resource. This is what we've been compensated with by LSS for them banning Hardened Crosstrap. This is what we're left with. I would need to see lines, you know. I would need to see lines. I would need to put it into lists and to like actually test it. I have a feeling that this is probably like, it's probably not good in Kano though. You know, you have better options there. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not here to talk about other decks. I'm here to talk about Rhinar. You would just play Deep Blue. You play Barkbone. I can't imagine where exactly this would fit in over anything else. But I could also be very wrong. You know, maybe not giving up the 1 card off of Deep Blue is worth having just 1 resource versus 2. You know, from Hardened Crosstrap. Like, if let's go back to the original OTK lines, right? Because we're assuming there's no way that this makes it into CC, although it could be a decent budget replacement, right? Like this is like clearly like a Blitz card, because the problem with Tunic and Blitz is you're probably dead by turn 3. You probably never get to see Tunic turn on and get your resource. So in Blitz, like you pitch a blue, you play Blood Rush Bellow, right? You got 2 floating, you need 6 resources, right? Assuming you're doing like Claw, Swing Big for 22. Or any of the other lines that involve like Wild Ride or Let's Go Massacre, you need 7. Now that's very important. The nice thing before is that if you had no other cards and you drew 2 reds, you had 4 resources, you had 2 discounted from Hardened Crosstrap, so you had access to all 6. It was super clean, super tight, very reliable. This now requires you to draw like a yellow in there, which I mean is probably fine, right? And then you have that line, or you draw blue. Now, if you're like assuming one's a blue and one's a red, or both of them are yellows, you could do like Claw, Massacre. So it's actually probably fine. So I'm not going to write this off. Would obviously need to test it, but if it turns out this isn't good, I wouldn't worry too much, just because like Hardened Crosstrap and Deep Blue are commons as well, and they exist, and they're doing fine for me. Yeah. But I hope it's good, because the Armory promo looks super sick. Okay, we've hit it. We've hit the Brute Mentor. Chief Rukatan? I don't know. Who knows? You may only have it in your deck if your hero is young, okay? So this is only for Blitz. So we're not going to consider CC. We're only going to ask ourselves how this card lines up in Blitz. While it's face down in Arsenal, okay, so it's like any of the other mentors. So So this is a block 3 card, so you can't block with it. And it has to go in your arsenal, and then on the next turn is when you flip it up. Okay. While it's face up in your arsenal, whenever you play a card with power 6 or more, intimidate and put a lesson counter. Then if there are 2 or more lesson counters on Rookatan, banish him and search your deck for Alpha Rampage. Put it face up in your arsenal and shuffle. That's tough. So what? Pack Hunt would double intimidate. Beast Within would triple intimidate on a normal 6 power. Or, yeah, Alpha Rampage would triple intimidate on a normal 6 power and would quad intimidate on a massacre discard. Okay. Few things. This is a non-attack. Do you want to increase the amount of non-attacks in your blitz stack to remove one extra blocking option from your opponent 2 turns in a row? That's the first question you need to ask yourself, right? Pack Hunt, intimidate twice, relevant. No, it's not. But barraging beatdown into Pack Hunt, intimidate twice, is very relevant. Very, very relevant. That is worth considering. Blood Rush Bellow, intimidate twice on its discard. Into Wild Ride, intimidate twice. Ooh. See, now it's in, now seems good. Is this a once per turn effect? No, it's not. Oh, so hold up. So you, okay. Maybe played 5, 6 more. Okay. So you could go Blood Rush Bellow, intimidate twice, 1 less encounter. This is assuming this gets flipped up the same turn you're doing Blood Rush Bellow. Play Wild Ride. All right. Intimidate twice. Your opponent's whole hand is gone. Or play Pulping. Doesn't matter. Opponent's whole hand is gone. Right? Down to 0 cards. You removed 12 life that they could have, gained by blocking that turn, or 12 damage they could have prevented. You then immediately get Alpha Rampage in your arsenal, right? So then you could do, but at that point that wouldn't matter. This is interesting. This is interesting because it weirdly lets you combo harder, right? Because now it provides you one final attack, right? Or at the very least, like, you're just guaranteed to have that for the next turn. There is a big problem though, in that this is going to be competing with a slot in arsenal you would put your combo card into, right? Because you would want to put Blood Rush Bellow, or you would want to put this Wild Ride, the Swing Big. That's what you want arsenal. This like directly conflicts with that because it wants to be in your arsenal. So as long as this is in your arsenal, you can't like wait for a Blood Rush Bellow turn to happen, right? If you're trying to use this to get synergy or to get value out of Blood Rush Bellow, you just need to draw it naturally, and you just have to hope that the hand is playable. You can't sculpt it and this is stuck in there. That's the problem. You can't just play the card, get it out, and like carry on. The only way it's leaving is if you get Command Conquered, which who knows? Your opponent may just even choose not to Command and Conquer if they know that you're like stuck with this. You're locked at an arsenal. That would be really funny. Or like you just play through it and then you probably don't get like, it's probably nothing too interesting, right? Because then the Alpha Rampage needs to leave your arsenal too, because now that thing's stuck in there. And that thing's even harder to play because that requires like 2 cards in hand and one of them needs to be like a blue pitch. So this feels like a fun theory craft card. I wouldn't be surprised if this is good, right? I need to test this. I'm gonna put like a very like tentative, might be good, might be bad. You'll have to wait and see. Could break the game. May never play the card in your life. Sort of evaluation. You know, you just need to jam it. You need to see like when it feels awkward. At the very least, it blocks for 3. Problem is, you're definitely not cutting a 6 power for it, so you need to cut a non-attack. And I don't think this thing pitches. Does this thing pitch for anything? It doesn't pitch for anything. That's really big. That's really big. What happens if you draw this on a Bloodish Battle turn? Right? This is a lot of things to think about. Muscle Mutt. Okay. You're not going to play that card. What is that? What is that? Why? Just staring into the void in that text box. Why is there nothing there? They forget? I really thought we were gonna get on hits. I guess I'm kind of a fool. What's going on? Yeah, I don't know why we're looking at this for that long. It's it blocks for 2. It's a 3 for 6 with no text on it. You play Yellow Smash, Smash Impact, whatever it is. Remember, card games, always opportunity costs. This card may seem nice. I mean, this one doesn't, but like, you know, like what we just talked about, let's go back to this. Card seems bonkers. And then you have to ask yourself this opportunity cost of like, okay, I only have a 40 card deck, you know, there's an existing 40 cards, right? We all were playing that crazy combo list in Blitz. What card do you take out to put this one in? It's not just that the card comes in, something has to leave, right? Because you have a 40 card list, so, you know, that's always the issue. Nothing is getting cut for this, so don't expect to play that. Dodge. 0 cost defense reaction for 2. Okay. Yeah, I got no words. It's good for an introductory product. Teaching players about the defense reaction step. There's obviously you would not play this in Rhinar. And finally, alright, so this is where all the memes are coming from. Titanium Bobble. Wow. God tier card. God tier card. Oh my god. It's just a block 3. Generic resource. Kind of fun. So I think that's it. Oh wait, no, sorry. We got one more card. Bone Basher. Also, yeah, I found out that the Rhinar is exactly the same. It's just the new art looks cooler. I'll be real. I will offer to trade my Welcome to Wraith promo for this one, just because I think this dude looks a lot more sick in my opinion. All right, Bone Basher. So this is just one-handed club, but worse because there's no discard +1. Oh, it's two-handed. It's two-handed. Oh man. I thought it was one-handed. I saw the like blurry ass spoiler pick. I thought this was a one-handed weapon, and this whole time I've been theory crafting. I'm like, oh my god, you can run like Arcane Lantern with this, and then like into Chain, you don't have to cut Skullcap, and you can run Norrune gloves, and into any of the Rune blades you can do that. Because the biggest issue was that you would have to run Arcane Barrier 2. You'd have to run Skullhorn, so you could pay for Rosetta Thorn, you could pay for Invert, and you can pay for all this other crazy stuff like Vexing Malice. But then the other thing was that, oh, you need to pay for Arcane Barrier 1 without getting taxed too hard because of the rune chance. And I was like, oh my god, if you do Bone Basher, you just have a clean Arcane Barrier 1, if you can run Arcane Lantern and Arcane Barrier 1 on Norrune gloves, and then you get to run Skullcap and Scab Skins into both into all the rune blades. But this is a two-handed weapon. Wow, that kind of shattered like all my expectations. Okay, so that's classic battles. I'm not here to give any sort of financial breakdown, you know, like, oh, like, is this product worth it? I will tell you, if you are a competitive brute player, you know, if you're trying to have a tune list and you're asking yourself, like, are any of these cards competitively viable? I think it's probably a pass. I don't think I've seen a single card here that I would probably want to run in any of the lists, actually, except for, oddly enough, this dude right here. Pack Call seems good, actually. I actually would like to get Pack Call. Just because it's blocks 3, power 6, it's a yellow. You have plenty of non-playable cards in this sort of category, right? Barraging Bighorn is like what I would instantly cut for this card, because Barraging Bighorn is already bad, right? You need a 3-card hand to play it. You need to pitch the card itself, and then you need a discard. This, if you're stuck within your hand for some odd reason, like if you're in the Rhinar mirror matchup and they intimidate 2 cards, they intimidate your Pack Call in a blue, like at least you can swing 6 back. Like that's more than what Barrage and Bighorn can do. So this card's gas. That card is a strict upgrade. I think it's really cool. Clearing Bellow has some fringe use cases if you need more like blue non-attacks, right? Like I don't know. Maybe it'll be relevant. And then the Chief Mentor feels interesting, but also feels like it has some complications. It's just difficult because Rhinar just can't run non-attacks, you know? It's so hard. All these require discards, and you can't pitch this out of hand, so it gets stuck in there. So the turn that you're playing it, you're probably just blocking for 9 and arsenaling this, but you have to hope that the card in your arsenal doesn't require like a discard effect or anything. So it's just gonna be so easy to get this trapped in your like hand or arsenal. I can't imagine wanting to. The more I look at this, the more I just like don't want to play the card. So yeah, wasn't trying to like be overly negative, but like I'm not gonna like, you know, sugarcoat this review as someone who's just looking to like fine tune a list. You know, the Blitz calling in Vegas right around the corner, ProQuest Season 2, and now I'm pretty sure these cards are going to be legal. You just had to ask yourself, like, is there anything here that I absolutely need to cut to play any of these new cards? Like, are any of these staples? Are any of these playable? It doesn't really seem like it. So that is nice, right? Like, if you're a competitive player, you do not need to pay $50, and you don't need to pay to get the singles. Although I'll probably buy pack calls from someone who wants to open the product. But even then, like, it's probably not making or breaking the deck. It's like a very, very minor niche upgrade, you know? I don't think like your deck is weak or bad if you're not playing that card. But yeah, so that's my initial reaction. So if you're buying this to like play with new people or just to have like a nice standalone sort of experience, you know, you want like a lower power level deck to play with someone, you know, rather than trying to like work around like, oh, like, can you play like your least competitive blitz list? You know, that's a totally separate category. I'm just only here to like be like, hey, like, you're a competitive player who wants to like fine tune your list for the season. Is there anything here you need to pick up? Probably not. This looks like pack call is pretty good. Yeah, so thanks for watching. If you have any like disagreements or there's any other evaluations you think I missed, like I'm totally open to that. Like this is what I've been recording for 30 minutes, so this is me sitting with these cards for 30 minutes. Not a whole lot of time. Haven't even played a game with them. You know, I don't think the bobble is going to be groundbreaking, but at the same time, there's also room for like, there's always room for people to be wrong in card evaluation. We see it time and time again where people just don't evaluate cards properly. I thought Starvo was not going to be good when it was first evaluated. So yeah, you just need to keep that stuff in consideration. So maybe the new helm piece is actually really good. I'm just like misunderstanding something. Or maybe the new mentor is like super strong, or maybe it's really bad, right? Because like even my initial reaction was like, whoa, that might actually seem kind of good. Like it might just be unplayable. So yeah, take it all with a grain of salt. Let me know if you think there's anything I missed, or if you have any considerations or applications about how these cards might actually be really useful in some of the strategies. And yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching.